So it's of my belief that most people who follow this page would understand that a caloric deficit is required for fat loss. And most of you probably even understand that a caloric deficit is expending more energy than we're consuming. But why is it that so many of us, even understanding this concept, are struggling to have a successful fat loss phase? So no matter how long you've been training for, I believe most people make the same mistakes that even people new to their fitness and training journey make when they're looking to implement a fat loss phase into their training. I always like to use the analogy of people who are renovating a house, and they always say that it's going to take a lot longer and cost more money than what you expect when you first start. Fat loss is similar in the concept of time. I believe most people have an unrealistic evaluation of their time frame just based off a combination of like bullshit 21-day, 4-week shred protocols that have photos manipulated or water and salt manipulated to make these results look amazing and achievable in a short period of time. Whereas realistically, it's going to take a lot longer. A good goal is 0.5 to 1% of your total body weight per week, and then evaluating kind of what is a realistic goal for you and adding on a few weeks for that point, because not everything is always going to be perfect and there's going to be hurdles that are overcome throughout the duration. So the second is not implementing a system that actually suits your lifestyle. And you would have heard this probably a lot of the times in the context of if you're super busy, that meal prepping's good, and accounting for like potentially how busy and like what you have on your plate. But the other factor to consider as well is what you actually do for training. And I find that a lot of people who are training a fair bit, they try to go into this fat loss phase that they potentially approach with too much aggression, and that they find that it takes away from their training, the thing that they actually love doing. So therefore, because they now are relating the success of their training to like the diet that they're doing, they end up falling off the bandwagon or eating more. So accounting for not only how time poor you are and what other lifestyle factors you may have, like kids or work routine and shift work, but also what you do from a physical standpoint and what your body demands of you, and making sure that you're addressing this is super important for a consistent, maintainable fat loss period. And the third being addressing the psychological factors that come along with food, and also the reason that you're doing the fat loss phase in the first place is we want to make sure that the reason that we're doing this comes from a positive place. It might be you're trying to lose body fat so you can be better at gymnastics. You might just want to be able to move better and feel better, or do it from a health standpoint. But understanding why you're doing what you're doing when going into it is super important. But then also understanding the psychological factors that come around with your personal relationship with food and how you can address those throughout is super important. Sometimes it's hard to pick up on this sort of stuff when you are just dieting by yourself, because you might not pick up on things like I eat when I'm bored or when I'm sad. You might notice it, but not understand the extent of it. Working with a coach definitely helps create a level of accountability and also a level of awareness to the sort of relationship you have with food. That's why I'm such a huge advocate for when people go through these fat loss periods or have more of intent around their nutrition, that working with a coach can be super helpful, not only for the success that you have throughout the journey, but also from an education standpoint and learning more about food and learning more about yourself and your relationship with food. So to summarize, be realistic with your evaluation of what it will take to achieve the fat loss goal that you're after, making sure that you're implementing good systems, as when motivation runs out, you fall to your weakest system. So making sure that they are correct for not only your lifestyle, but also for your training and what you're doing in the gym, and also addressing the psychological factors surrounding why you're entering this fat loss phase in the first place, and any of the psychological factors surrounding your relationship with food. Fat loss as a concept can be simple, but it's not easy. But with the right approach and consistency, it's definitely achievable.